Right. So what we have covered in the last session, I think, if I'm not wrong, for a particular business case scenario I have taken, in context to the business case scenario, we have discussed about the
Personal auto.
whatever the complexity that we have generated on the personal auto in reference to the driver accident details, all that. So, how the underwriting team will receive the application. Normally, you see, finally, underwriting team has rejected to process further due to the risk which is involved in the particular application. That scenario I have explained you. Okay, now from today onwards, I'm going to discuss about the data model part because normally when we are working on the Guidewire Developer Studio here, let me see. Normally, whenever we are working on this, mm, just a second, it was. mm, hmm. Whenever we are working on the Guidewire Developer Studio, normally we need to know about the data model part. So, data model
Mhm,
or the data model is important. So, whatever
mhm.
data models we have, right? So, that understanding over the data model is important. Data models where if there is any changes that we want to be made, so that has to be reflected on the data model also. Means whatever the data fields that we are creating, everything has to be updated in this regard. Okay. So
Okay.
in the point of understanding, generally when it comes to the configuration part, whatever the changes in the last time I told you, everything will be done under the extension part. Okay. This part anyway I have told you what is that something under the extension, whatever the entities type list part that I have already mentioned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, when it comes to the data model is concerned, whatever the data types we have, right? So these are the different database files we have. Because any application you see, normally application will have three layers. You must be knowing that. Uh,
Yeah.
Something new, but anyway, I'll explain you from the beginning. Normally, application you have three layers. These are the three different layers you will be having. The front end layer, which is called user interface, which is called presentation layer. Whatever the policy center UI that we are using, right? So to submit
Mhm.
applications or to write any underwriting rules, etc. For that, generally this presentation layer we are using. Okay, anyway that you know it.
Yeah.
About the business logic layer, that is where generally this Guidewire Developer Studio is meant for that. Whatever the logic you want to write, whatever the customizations, whatever the page configurations we are doing, everything can be done under the business logic layer. But one of the more important layer is called data layer. This is what generally the data layer stands for. You know that.
Yeah.
Data layer means whatever the database. Let's say, for example, we have opened a application submission page. Application submission page consists of policy submission page consists of details of the particular person whoever is applying for policy and his contact details, what type of policy a person is taking, what is the tenure, right? So who is the underwriter, who is the producer, all the details were mentioned on the screen. Okay, that is the form. Whatever the input that we are referring to, that is called generally a form. But when it comes to the implementation of the data, there must be a data table, there must be a data layer we must be having where we need to have the data model. Whatever the required entities we have, everything has to be stored here. That is where generally we create some data dictionaries, you know. So whatever
Yeah.
the data that we are updating, everything will be stored on the data layer. And wherever it is required, if you want to extract any information in context to the reports, etc., everything can be extracted. So for extraction purpose, of course, we use different queries. Like SQL is one of the query language we'll be using to do that. So when we are trying to understand about this data part, so first thing one must be knowing about the data model. Okay, this is not something that we must be knowing.
Mm-mm.
So data model majorly represents you whatever the structure of the data entities and as well as the kind of relationships we are maintaining in the application. For example, a person is having a application where a person will be notified based upon the application number. Okay, application number or something. This application number is something interconnected with the particular applicant, whoever has submitted the application, a policy holder. Followed by this, what type of policy a person has submitted, everything can be seen. So there must be some relationship among the kind of data entities, whatever are we presented. So that has to be presented under the data model. Okay. So that is what generally the concept of data model is majorly used for. Okay. But so majorly when there is any kind of data that we are storing, when there is any configuration, let's say that we are working on the configuration side where we want to make some changes on the configuration. So in contrast to the configuration, whenever you are making changes, you have to make sure there must be some changes that is to be happened in the data model also. Okay.
Mhm.
That is the reason why there are some read-only files used. If you remember in the beginning sessions, I told you there are some metadata files you have. These
Mhm.
metadata files are something which is used for read-only files. Means those are gray color, gray kind of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So where you cannot make any kind of changes and all. But when there is any kind of new entity we have created, subsequently the first one is created will be metadata file will be created. After that, it will be going for the extension part. So knowing about the kind of data, what is that we are storing and how are we going to access the data, how are we manipulating the data, especially when we are managing any policies or any kind of claims and all. So for that, generally data model is something that we will be using. Understood, right? So
Yep.
understand what the data model is required.
Yep.
Now, here is a question you can ask Raj, in what way data model understanding is something which is required for an architect? Okay. So that is something that you must, maybe you may have it out, right? So in what way
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah, yeah.
normally, why? Because generally being an architect, fundamental responsibility from an architect point of view, I'm referring this. Okay. Let me explain from the architect point, because development point of view, I have already told you. Now, in what way being an architect, we are related or we are needed about the data model part? Because whenever we develop any architecture for the project, generally these architectures will be considered as two parts. One is enterprise architecture, second is a solution architecture. Okay, because there is some explanation here, a detailed explanation. Allow me to complete this, then I'll go back. Okay,
Yep.
enterprise architecture and solution architecture. Roles will also be the same. You can see in the market, you may see some enterprise architect roles, you may see some solution architect roles, some system architect, data architect, like that, right? So there are different architect roles we have. So enterprise architecture means wherein detailing about the complete enterprise, whatever the organization that we see, everything will be part of enterprise architecture. Now, these enterprise architecture again will be classified into four parts. One is business architecture, second is about the systems architecture, third application architecture, fourth is called data architecture. Four parts.
Mm.
Business architecture means, let's say, insurance company I'm talking about. We are referring to the insurance company. Business architecture majorly focusing on business architecture.
Mm. You're mute. You're talking mute. Raj, you were talking in mute. Hello.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Right. So under the enterprise architecture, for example, when you're taking an insurance company, when you're taking an insurance company, let's say business architecture majorly defines you what exactly the services this insurance company do. All right. Who are their customers?
Mhm.
Okay. Same time, what are their objectives? What are their goals? What are the critical success factors they are taking into consideration to make their application successful, to make their business successful? Everything will be part of business architecture. Understand?
Mhm.
You're clear.
Yes. Yes.
So this is what business architecture, because I am referring to the enterprise architecture, not solution architecture. Okay, enterprise architecture. Now, second is called systems architecture. Systems architecture means what are the different systems. Let's say, for example, we have some legacy systems we have. For example, we have a legacy system for policy center we have. Okay. Now, let's say a company called XYZ is a company, an insurance company. XYZ is an insurance company in which they have already have a legacy system of policy center. Now they are taking Guidewire billing. Okay, Guidewire billing or Guidewire claim center application they have taken. So when they have taken what is required, integration is needed. You know that. Right? There is a concept of integration, you will be knowing it. So whenever we do the integration, what is needed? So how the systems architecture means how are these systems were interconnected, either from legacy to cloud application or cloud to cloud or legacy to legacy. These how are these systems are interconnected? Either it can be legacy systems within the organization or these applications are connecting to the cloud. Everything will be part of systems architecture.
Correct.
Understood? Clear? Third.
Yep.
Third is called application architecture. Application architecture means you have policy center, you have billing center, you have claim center. So
Yeah.
all these are interconnected. You know that, right? So for
Yes.
different purposes and different reasons, we require this change. This connects are needed. So how are these applications are connected, interconnected? That is that detail you about the application architecture.
Correct.
Fourth point called data architecture, how the data is flowing. For example, application is submitted. Customer has submitted the application. When customer has submitted application, what is required? This policy file should be accessed by the underwriting team. Underwriting
Yeah.
has to be accessed. Means how the data is flowing from policy center to underwriting. Okay. Or else, for example, customer has accepted the quotation that we have given, which has to be this data has to be accessed by the billing center, so that billing center will create the billing part. For example, a person has completed the billing and he is using the policy application for a very long time policies. Now there is some collision happened where customer has applied for the claims. Claim center wants to verify the data, whether to what extent the policy data, what type of policy, what type of benefits, everything. For that data and data architecture is required. So like this, there are different architectures are there. Everything will be part of enterprise architecture. Okay, this is one
Correct.
role, role number one. And again, there were many other roles. Even systems architecture we have. We call it as software architect, right? So there are many other roles we have. Now, why, in what way data model is related or relevant, right? So if this is the question one should understand. Data model being an architect, we must be understanding whenever we are developing a solution architecture here. Why? Because whenever we want to develop a solution architecture, normally we need to know about the system design part. You know that, right? System.
Yes.
In this system designing, normally we do the HLD part first. High level design will be done. High level design, what are the different components we have and how are these integrated? That is called HLD. Now, when it comes to the low level design, this is where generally this data model requirement is needed. Because low level design majorly tells you about how the system should perform, because based on the non-functional requirements given by the BA team, so we need to design the low level design. In this we need to know what kind of programming language are we using, right? What are the algorithms that we are using, what are the design patterns that we use. Everything has to be presented. That is where generally low level design that we do. Whenever we are working on the low level design, being an architect with the technical team, you must be knowing about the structure of data model. That
Correct. Correct.
being an architect, you are relating to the data model. You are not only a developer. If you are an architect, you require to have an understanding over the data model when we are designing the low level design. Okay. What
Yes.
type of architecture are we using later? Either it can be microservices or it can be event-driven architecture. वो अलग बात है. That's a different thing.
Mhm.
Because that comes next. Okay, unless there is no system design is created, there is no point in going for architecture style. Okay, whatever the architectural style functioning, all this. So in this regard, so whenever we want to detail a particular low-level design of the application, what design patterns, etc., this data model is something one should be knowing. This
Yeah.
is how generally as a architect we are related to data model.
Yes.
Understood? You're clear now? Got it, right? So this
Yes.
is what generally the data model is majorly for. Now, these are the key aspects under data model. You please write down, or else you can take a screenshot of it. Pass
Yeah.
it, that is of your choice. These are the key aspects in data model which can be classified. Otherwise, you can write down. I'll tell you in shortcut. Key
Yeah.
in data model, key aspects in data model can be classified in
Can be.
three parts. Can be classified into three parts. I'll make it short. Okay.
Yeah.
One is entities.
It
One
is.
Second is fields.
Fields,
Third is relationships.
relation,
Entities, fields, and
and relations.
okay. Now, when you're talking about data model entities, these are the examples. For example, entity nothing but a customer. Customer nothing but a person who is applying for an application policy. Okay, a policy submission. Customer, whoever wants to have an insurance policy, that person is called customer. This is one entity.
Mm,
Second, policy. Whatever the policy record that we have created for a particular customer, record of the policy can also be called as entity. Next, policy period even. Policy period means either it can be an year or can be a quarterly. It depends on the term payment customer has paid. Because some policies have quarterly premium, some policies have half yearly premium, some policies will be having annual premium. But some policies, especially on the guideware, majorly when we are going with inland marine data model. We will create one more in inland marine also. You will be knowing actually the point you will be knowing there. Inland marine. Inland marine means whatever the transportation goods and the
yeah,
cargo that we transport across ocean. That is all inland marine. Generally, whenever an insurance company is issuing any inland marine application, inland policy, generally the term will be only 1 year. It will not be quarterly or half yearly. It won't be workout also. It won't possible. It will not be accepted. 1 year premium they have to take because the traveling time for particular good transporting from one country to another country or from one continent to another continent will be taken not less than 6 months time. You know that.
yeah,
Not less than 6 months, right? So traveling time, right? So it transport the goods to one place, right? So again, they will import some goods there, right? So they will export some goods. This is how generally it happens. It can be of anything. It can be vegetables. It can be of any other things, oil, right? All that stuff. So policy period is one of the entity generally we need to understand from the data model point of view. The policy period can be 1 year, it can be 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, all that. Next, coverages is also part of entity. Whatever the coverages, different type of coverages we have. Let's
mhm,
say homeowner insurance policy we have taken, right? Coverage can be, it can be dwelling. Dwelling is one kind of coverage we have. Or else condo insurance, condominium insurance, list of perils. Or else it can be rental. Okay, these are all the different coverages and all. Whatever the different coverages type that we have taken, everything will be part of entities. Next about the claims, whatever the claims that we are related, okay. For example, whatever the customer has submitted any FNOL process and all, everything will be part of claims. So these are generally entities are called as. Okay, understood?
yes.
Okay, you can please make a note here. These contains
These contains
fields which defines its attributes. For example, these contains fields that define its attributes. For example,
uh, attributes. For example,
For example, policy entity might include
this
fields like policy number, effective date, policy number, effective date,
effective date,
premium amount, etc.
premium amount, etc. Yep.
etc. All these things will be part of key aspects in the data model entity. Okay, that is one. Right? These are all entities I am referring to. Data model entities, a customer can be an entity, policy can be an entity, policy period can be an entity, coverages can be one, claim can be. These are all entities under the data model. Next, data model fields. This can be presented in different way. Okay. For example, let me take it. I'll just, for example, I'll just show you. We have a PCF file where, okay. Hmm.
Customer.
Policy. Policy module PCF I'm taking. Okay. So oh, I'll be taking the PCF file, policy file PCF. This is the file PCF we have taken. Okay, this is for the page configuration, whatever we have. Right. So
Yeah.
in this policy file, whatever the PCF file that we have created, we may require some attributes that are to be changed. For example, there is an extension, right? So let's say entity, we have a uh, address. For example, ETX file called ETX address that we have taken. Okay. So these are the different things, right? So this is what is the type, what is decimal, right? So what are the default characters, right? What is null log? These are all something that will be comes under the data type when it comes to the fields are concerned. Okay, string is text type, data, decimal, boolean value, right? All these things are comes under the fields. These are the different fields. Fields can be represented based on it, right? What type of field are we creating, right? So at the same time, what kind of address type are we taking here, right? So what is the decimal number that we need to provide? What is the default value that we are going to create? All these things will be part of, generally these fields are comes under the data model. Understood
Yeah.
here? No? Got it. Right. Right now, fields,
Fields
fields such as,
such as
fields such as string, string,
str,
string which represents,
which represents
string represents text,
yes,
text data,
text data,
date represents
date
date and time values,
represents
decimal represents
decimal.
numeric value. You know that decimal
Yeah,
means
yeah,
69.39 like that, right? Decimal value. Right. So normally, if you want to quote anything, because if you remember when we have created a quotation for policy submission, if you remember, you have seen that. I have shown you even. Okay,
yeah,
you
yeah,
have seen that. Where it is represented, what we call it is represented, um, the quotation whenever the quotation is created, you can see $650 point so and so. Okay, that is how it is. So decimal value, that is all numeric values and all. Next, Boolean.
yeah.
Boolean can be true or false. That's where generally logic will be applied here, right? Based upon the Boolean, logic can be applied. Next, entity references. Entity references.
Entity reference.
Reference, right? So reference means fields which are referenced for other entities.
Which are reference
Referenced for other entities by
are
creating relationships
the
between them. Between them. Understood? Clear now?
yeah,
Next, relationships, right?
relationships
Relationships can be defined
can be defined
how the entities
how the entities
are connect to one another.
one
Another. How these entities are connected to one another. Either it can be one to many, or it can be many to one, or it can be many to any. Right? Different instances.
yeah.
Because one instance can, for example, one to many. One to many, yeah. For example, a person holding any application, that person can have multiple policies. For example, if you remember when we have done on the policy center UI, if you see we have created an account, person account, for example, or it can be a business account. Person account we have created. That person can have multiple policies. Multiple policies means the person can have even personal auto, a person can have a homeowner insurance, right? So multiple policies the person can have. This is
Hmm.
all we call it as one to many. Okay, one to many means based upon the account number that is created. On that account number, there can be multiple policies for a particular person. Okay, that is called one to many. Okay. Now, second is many to one.
Yeah.
Many to one, right? So many claims can be associated with one policy. For example, a person has taken a homeowner insurance or any personal auto or a commercial auto insurance is taken. A person can submit claims n number of times. There is nothing like there is no rule that if you have taken a policy, you are allowed to submit claims only for limited time. Okay, nothing like that. Claims can be as long as the claim is something genuine. Okay, the claim can be accepted by the insurance company. But here you need to know the clause because there are some companies where if you have taken any insurance policy, there is a clause there, right? So I don't refer this for every company. Some companies will have the condition. What is the condition? For example, someone has taken an insurance policy. Let's say homeowner, personal auto or commercial auto insurance is taken by someone. Let's say there was some collision happened and some accident kind of thing is happened where a person has submitted the claim is processed, that's a genuine claim is processed, and the investigation done by the insurance team and they have paid the claim. Now, generally, whenever there is an insurance policy document is submitted, is generated, some insurance policies I am referring. I am not talking about only personal auto or something. Some insurance policies with the same identical procedure within 3 months, if any claim is submitted, generally it will not be accepted. Understood? You got my point clear?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just give me a
Yeah.
minute, please. Give me a
Yeah.
minute.
Sure.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry for that. Right. So, yeah. So, a person can have a claim. Okay. One insurance policy can have multiple claims. But sometimes, condition to condition, it will vary. Sometime back, I told you, just now I have told you. If there is any same identical procedure within 3 months, again, if there is any claim submission happened, some insurance companies will reject.
Yeah.
With same identical procedure, I'm saying, okay, 3 months or 6 months, right? Those are all the company based upon the company rules. These are all will be varied. These
Mm.
are all will be varied. Okay. So this is what we call it as many to one. Okay. A person can have a claim. This claim can be associated with one policy. That is what generally we call it as claims and all.
Got it. Hello.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. One
Yeah.
to many.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Next, third, many to many. Right now. Many to many.
Yeah. Multiple entity
Uh,
cancel
Multiple coverages can apply to multiple policy periods.
policy.
That
Yeah.
is called many to many. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the relationships we have, right? So end of the day in data model, because these are all something that will be presented in context to the logic. One to many to one,
Yeah.
many to many. One to many means a person can have multiple policies. As an example, many to one means one single policy can have multiple claims in different time during different timelines. Many to many means multiple coverages can apply to multiple policy periods. Whatever the policy period depends on that. Whatever the multiple coverages can be applied for. That is called many to many. So these are the three generally relationships that can be presented when we are working on the data model. Understood now, right?
Yeah.
Now, sub-entities, please write down. Sub-entities. These are entities.
Sub entities.
These are entities which
These are
are
entities
which are logically which
which
are
are
logically nested with
nested with,
other entities. For example, other entities.
for example,
For example, a policy entity
policy entity
might have
might have
sub-entities like
sub entities,
coverage,
coverage,
endorsement,
endorsement,
or claims.
or claims.
This typically, comma continuation, this typically
This typically
doesn't stand alone,
it does not
stand
stand
alone,
alone,
which is part of
which
parent entity,
is part of
parent entity,
policy.
and its data depending on the parent.
It's data.
Depending on the parent. Understood now? Clear?
Yeah,
So this is what generally we call it as the key aspects. Whatever the key aspects in data model, these are the different aspects we have, right? So the first aspect we call it as entities, second we call it as fields, third we call it as relationships. This is what generally we call it as entities and all that. Now, when we are talking about the data types, right? So whatever I have covered with you so far about the data model part, this is what generally the data model you can see. You can see here in the screen, you can see policy period. A policy period can be connected with the policy transactions. Policy transactions can be covered with coverage. That coverage will be connected with some coverage term. That can be even covered with the kind of risk object which is related there itself. So all these things will be part of Guidewire Policy Center data model. Understood?
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. So these are all the things were there. Now, when it comes to the data types in Policy Center, please write down. Data types in Policy Center
it helps in
as follows.
policies.
As follows.
Data policy
Hmm. One
centers
is as follows.
follows.
First one, rule types. Data types in Policy Center as follows. First one, rule types.
Rule types,
Rule types, RULE, rule types. Entity types,
entity types,
field types, subtypes,
field types,
subtypes,
types,
array types,
types,
map types,
types,
workflow types, event types,
types.
event types.
Yeah,
Next, validation types.
validation types. Yeah,
Understood? Right.
yep.
Okay. Validation types. Next, extensions.
Extensions,
Extensions.
extensions,
Next, segment types.
sec-
Activity types.
activities.
Activity types. Understood? Clear.
Yep, yep.
These are all the data types that we have. One is about the rule type, entity types, field types.
But subtype, it is
Sorry,
subtype. That looks little. Subtypes is a data types. Subtype, SUBTIP.
subtypes.
Yeah, subtypes. There is a data type. You said subtypes, right? The third one from the right top in the screen. close today, Raj.
Yeah. Validation types. Sorry, are you okay? You're busy? Okay. Segment types and activity types.
Yeah,
Okay. These are the different data types we have. Okay. Clear now? Got it?
yeah.
Right. So this is what generally the data types and how this can be presented and all that I'll be discussing tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow we have a session.
Okay,
I'll
okay,
discuss tomorrow. Okay.
sure.
Will
Sure.
you